Hey guys, my name is Deb Marnie and I'm from Aussie Maille, and this is our Chain Maille tutorial channel. Hey guys, a big hi, hello, welcome, how are you? Thanks for popping in and seeing me today. It is really great to catch up with you. So today I've got more of a project video for you. I'm going to be showing you how to make a captured beads flower pendant. Alright guys, let's just jump straight into it. Okay guys, so I've got a couple of pieces here that I've made up for you in the captured bead flower unit or pendant. Now I just want to speak to you quickly about captured bead weaves and sizing of rings. So I will list the sizes that I used for these two particular pieces. But just one thing I want to point out to you is now both of these beads are listed as 6mm beads. Okay, so these ones are Crackle glass beads and these ones are Czech glass beads. But although they're both listed as the same size beads, I have to use different ring sizes to capture these beads. I find and recommend when you're doing bead captures to use the Czech glass beads because I've found their sizing much more consistent, much more reliable. The Crackle glass beads, although they are absolutely beautiful beads, I have found their sizing to be very inconsistent. The different colors can have slight different diameters or even different diameters within the same color. So I guess my point here is when you're doing captured bead work, you really need to understand that you may have to be flexible in your ring size choices. So I can recommend to you my ring sizes that I've used based on the rings that I have on hand or the rings that we make and the beads that I'm using. But I can't guarantee that those same size rings are going to work for you every single time. So you need to have a certain level of understanding that you will need to be flexible when trying to capture these sorts of beads or do these sorts of weaves. And this is pretty much across any of these captured bead weaves. We've certainly done a few others. We've got others listed here in our channel, which I'll list up here in the top right corner as we go along for those that are interested. But I just wanted to put that out there, guys. This is not a hard and fast rule. This is a suggestion and you may need to adapt based on the beads and that you will be using. So with the Crackle glass beads over here, these both rings are using 18 gauge, which is 18 gauge AWG 1mm diameter wire. So for the Crackle glass ones, the ring ID is 6.25mm for the larger rings, and the smaller ring I chose to use here was 2.75mm. Now with the Czech glass beads, I went down to a 6mm bead ring, sorry, 6mm ID ring for the large ring, and again the 2.75mm for the small ring. Another thing I wanted to show you, this one here, I've used 2 rings in the middle for this one. This one I put 3 rings in because I did make one up with 2 rings in the middle, and there's just a little bit more flexibility in there that I wasn't 100% happy with. I mean, it's okay, but I wasn't 100% happy with it. So instead of just 2 rings in the middle, I put 3 rings. So again, that might be something that you will need to work on and adjust per your preference. Another way of tightening up a loose weave, you can see with all of these I've put 2 small rings up here in the top, but this one, which is another Crackle glass bead, I didn't put 2 rings in the top. The weave didn't need it, so it was tight enough without popping that second ring in. So again, these are all ways of working within the limitations of the beads that you actually have. Anyway guys, I thought I would just give you that information to help you if you come across any difficulties, to help you troubleshoot. Okay guys, so today I'm going to work with our Czech glass beads. So I'm using the 18 gauge 6mm rings, and I already know that I prefer 3 rings in the center of my flower. So I have pre-closed 3 of my rings, and I'm going to pop them onto an opened large ring. And then I'm going to double that ring up. And just for ease, and this is not necessary in any way, I'm just going to put a quick twist tie through that center ring just for the moment, just to help give me a little bit more to hang on to so I can show you the steps. So once I've placed 2 rings through our center rings, I'm going to put 2 more rings coming off those rings that we just placed. Okay, and then once I've placed them, I'm going to hold on to my center rings, put one of our end rings on either side, and I'm going to sort of separate that first pair of rings so that I've got a little bit of a cage, a little bit of a box going on there. And in there I'm going to take up one of my beads, and I'm going to pop that bead into the cage, and then I'm going to close my rings around that. So you want to make sure that these rings are sitting on the outside of your center rings. If you've got them tucked in under there in any way, it's not going to close around your bead properly. So you want to make sure that your center rings are sitting between those 2 outside rings that we've just placed. And holding that in place, we then want to grab one of our small rings and feed it through those 2 rings, closing it up and locking it all into place. And then we just want to double that small ring up. These are very small rings. Okay, all right, so we've got 1 petal in place, and we want to keep doing that around our center rings until we've placed a total, well in my case, 7. Okay, so again, this may depend on the ring sizes and the beads and everything that you are using, but in my case I'm going to be placing a total of 7 petals. So I'll just run through that once more for you. So we take 2 of our large rings and feed them through our center rings. And you can remove the twist tie at this stage. Now that we've got a petal to hold on to, we can get rid of that twist tie. So you've got the 2 rings just added to your center ring. You're going to add 2 more rings to those so that you've got a short chain of 2, 2 coming off the center. Okay, and once you've got those 2 in place, or those 4 rings in place, hold on to the center of your ring with one of the end pair of rings sitting on either side, and just sort of push your thumb down there and open up that first set of rings so that you've got this little cage there, and into that you want to pop your bead, and then you'll want to close up your outside rings, okay, so that they go all around your bead in there. So if you're having difficulty to do that, as I said before, make sure all your center rings are actually in the middle of the 2 outside rings. Sometimes those rings can get caught in here, especially with 3 rings in there, and that can lead to you not being able to close those large rings all the way around. But holding that into place, we then want to lock it in with one of our small rings. So taking an open small ring, we feed it through those 2 top large rings, locking the bead into place, and then of course we double that ring up. Okay. So you guys keep going through until you've placed your 7 petals, and I'll meet you back here to show you the next step. Okay, so I've got 6 petals in. I thought I would just join you back here to show you the 7th, because obviously the 7th petal is going to be the trickiest one to place, because obviously you're getting less and less room as you work around. So it's no different than the others. You just go ahead and do everything that you were doing. It just becomes a little bit harder to place all your rings. So all I can suggest is patience, guys, and just take it slowly and everything will work out fine. Okay, so that's the final ring of the cage placed, and then we just separate that out, pop in our bead, and then fold those large rings up around it, and then lock them into place. Okay, so there we are with our 7 petals in place. And then just to further lock it down and keep it all snug, we're going to take up another small ring, and we're going to take 1 ring from neighboring petals and join them together with our small ring. Oops. And this is not difficult, it's just fiddly because they are small. And then just go through and close that up. And you'll want to do that all the way around your petal, around your flower. So again, if you're having huge difficulties here joining this up with this ring size, then, you know, go up a ring size. Like I said, you need to be flexible and willing to do a little bit of your own experimentation, especially if you're using rings other than ours, because I can't guarantee that anybody else's rings will behave in exactly the same way that ours do. So you just need to use this video and these sizes as a starting point and work out the best ring sizes for what your materials are. So just working our way around the flower, joining all the petals to each other. Okay. And then with this last one here, depending on how you're planning on hanging this, if you're using this as a pendant, you may want to actually place, if you're putting this on a bale or something, depending on the size of your bale, you may actually want this last ring to be a little larger to accommodate your bale. So I'll leave that decision up to you. It depends on whatever you're working with, but if you're working with a bale and it doesn't fit this size ring, then you might want to make that ring just a smidgen taller. Alright, so I've gone through and I've placed all of those rings, and there's still a little bit of movement in this bead, in this piece, too much for my liking. So what I would do is go back now and put a second ring into all the points. Now you can do this as you go around the first time round. I like to leave it because, as I said, beads can be different. They can be inconsistent in their sizing, and you may not always need to tighten your piece up with a second set of rings. So I like to place one and then make a judgment call and go back and place the others. So I'm just going through the exact same spaces as before, joining all the petals together. And then once you've done that, you will have completed your pendant. Okay. Right, and I've just got one more to place. So it can be a little bit tricky putting that second ring in. So just persevere with it, and you'll get there eventually, guys. Alright, so there we go. There is our completed capture. So I would then, depending on the clasp that, the cord that I'm putting it on, or the chain, or whatever it is that I will be hanging this off, that would make a difference to what size ring I'm going to put on here. So obviously, if it's a fine chain, I'll only put a small ring on there, and I would double that up to give it a point of strength. Of course, you can always just hang it off one of the large ones if that's what you prefer, but I think given that this has got 7 petals, it looks quite nice to hang it off one of the edge rings. There you go, guys. There's your captured bead flower pendant. Alright, my lovelies, well that is it. That's the video tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful. If you did like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up here on YouTube. Share the video if you like. If you're not a subscriber, you might want to consider doing that for us. That would be awesome and a great help to our channel. Catch some of the other content that we've got here. There's plenty for you to look at. And last but definitely not least, please check out our shop link up here in the corner. Give it a little love and affection. That's where we sell all the bits and bobs and you know what sets you're going to need to make up this project and many others. Alright guys, thanks so much for popping in and seeing me. I hope you're keeping safe and well and that I get to catch up with you again sometime in the very near future. Bye!